Hey guys, it's Kiero, and in this episode we're going to do proofing. And this is a stage of the process where we start making sure that our entire logo is very consistent. So, if we have 90-degree angles, we're going to keep with 90-degree angles. We're not going to go with 89, for example, or 89.5, we're going to stick with 90. We're going to make sure that everything aligns, perhaps something aligns with the golden ratio, and we're going to pretty much just make sure that this logo is good for production and shipment towards the next stage of the process, which will be style guides and preparing the presentation. Basically, we don't want to go back and fix the logo if there are any errors or if there's something hanging off the logo, an extra anchor point. We're just going to finalize it and proof it. So the way I usually do this is with grids and geometric shapes. So let's just get right into it. So with the ski roll part, it's kind of distracting, so we're going to move it out. And I'm just going to draw a box around this logo. And I'm going to use very light, very faint gray lines. So I'm going to start from the center and make a box somewhere like this. Let's shift it and let's move it down. Alright, that looks good. And instead of black lines, let's use mid-gray. That also looks good. So now let's just get a geometric shape. So I'm going to get a square. I'm going to draw it right around here. And let's rotate it 45 degrees because we want to check for 90-degree angles. Move it down, see if it lines up, and it does. Perfect fit. So I don't want this part to be hanging off, not in the way I'm going to proof this logo, because I still want it to be sort of pretty, right? So just for the visual beauty of it, I'm just going to drag this down to lock up here, and take this and drag it down here. Alright, perfect. And now we're just going to copy and paste this. So we're going to shift it to the left, and move it down. And we also see that this makes a 90-degree angle. Now let's actually flip this around and see if this point makes a 90-degree angle. So Command-C, Command-F. We're going to rotate this. And we're going to see if it locks up. And it does. Pretty perfect. And the way it's locking up is because originally we did use geometric shapes, but again, I'm just making sure. You never know what happens in your process. You just want to retrace your steps and see that everything is correct, everything's fine. Right. So now we're going to proof the sun. The sun looks good here. So now let's actually draw out the lines for the first line down here. Let's move it all the way up. Let's make sure it's using that same style. That gray line we have. Let's Command-C, Command-F. Drag it all the way here. And then let's Command-C, Command-F, and drag it to the center point. So what I want to do now is that, you see how this sun point intersection is slightly higher than this intersection? If we're going to be consistent and the difference is very, very minute, I just want to line it up. So I'm going to put a point here, and I'm going to make sure that this is the proper intersection point, and this is. And drag it all the way here. And I'm holding shift whenever I do this, just so it locks up to 45-degree angle or the 90-degree angle. So that's good. So now we just have to move this mountain over, and we should be set. I don't want to make the mountain larger per se, otherwise it'll just be the two identical peaks. But I'm just going to move it up, and we'll see when it intersects. Yep, we got the intersection point, and now we're just going to adjust the white shape. I'm pretty happy again because I did design this with geometric shapes and non-linear, so I don't actually have to recreate the logo, recreate the triangle, and then move everything to the left. Here I'm just playing with shapes once again. So great example of non-linear workflow. Alright, so now these two lines line up. And this one goes all the way to the edge, perfect. But now we have to make sure that this line locks up. So let's check again. Perfect, 90 degrees. And locks up. And this line should still be in the center. And it is. Is the sun in the center? Yes, it is. Alright, so all that is perfect. Now let's actually check if the actual ratio of the distance here to here, to the center point, and then the center point to the second mountain, could actually fall into the golden ratio. And what's cool about the golden ratio is that it's a special number approximately equaling 1.618. And it appears in many forms in our architecture, geometry, nature, and science, being deemed aesthetically pleasing by humans and also because of its function and form in nature. We find the golden ratio when we divide a line into two parts so that the whole length divided by the long part is also equal to the long part divided by the shorter portion. So I'm going to see if we can implement that same ratio into the logo. Now I'm not designing the logo around the ratio, but if we do have this very close distance, I'm going to see if we can lock it up to be exact. So I'm going to get a rectangle. And let's make it gray. And let's get the golden ratio. And it's 1.6180. And feel free to look it up and read more about it. I could babble about it for hours. It's actually really cool. But for the sake of this lesson, it'll be your homework to research it. So Command C, Command F. And we're going to take the distance and we're just going to multiply it by this ratio. And we didn't copy it. No, we did not copy it. So let's go back. 1.618. Back to Illustrator. And times 1.618. And if we drag it out, we actually see that it's almost close. And that means we just have to readjust one little thing. So let's drag this up. Let's go down. And let's make sure that this could be aligned properly. So we just need to move this just a bit over. Oh, it needs one more shift. So let's do that one more time. That's a perfect lockup. Let's go down. And let's see if we can move this mountain while maintaining the golden ratio. So I'm going to move it a bit to the right. And then a bit upwards. Just so it still meets that intersection point. Alright, perfect. I'm pretty happy. And we'll lock this up again. So there we go. We now also have a golden ratio applied to our logo. But it crops up all over nature. It's so common in our world, so I usually try to implement it if I get the chance. So this is our logo. We proofed it. We made sure that all the angles are correct. And overall, the logo looks good. There's nothing that I see that I missed. We could use a circular grid to make sure that these are perfect circles, but just judging from the shape, these are perfect circles. And if we expand it, we see that it perfectly aligns with the outside shape. So there's really no need to touch that. The only thing that we have to do now is actually just make sure that this logo is one solid shape. So should be pretty easy. I'm just going to select everything. Right, we have the white parts, we have the outlines, and I'm just going to Pathfinder it. So let's open that up and let's divide it. I'm going to click it twice just to make sure. And I'm going to delete this white part now. Same here. And then I'm going to select everything that is the black color that we had previously. And let's merge it together. And let's just go to Object, Ungroup, Object, Ungroup, Object, Expand. And let's just group it together and merge one more time. So we have these stray strokes, so let's just see what happens if we delete them. And apparently many bad things happen when we delete them. So we'll select them again and see if they can fall into our group. So merge, and then we'll go to Object, Path, Clean Up. And then we're just gonna go back here. And we should be fine to delete this. So again, select this, merge it. And then let's click away, select this point, which should be the sun, I believe. Or no, this is actually just a straight point, right? Is that what I'm seeing? Yeah, turns out it was just a straight point. But either way, we fix that right up. The sun is perfectly cut. The white shapes are no longer there. And I don't see any other problems. The stroke on the sun is popping up if we scroll over it. And if we delete that, then it just goes away and nothing impacts our logo. We see that our curvature is pretty good. We don't have any stray points. There is no doubles up on a singular point. There's one here. So I'm just gonna hold, get the delete anchor point tool and remove that. And we can remove this, we can remove this, we can remove this. That was a double point. So there we go. We proofed our logo and this is ready for production. So if you want to present this, it's perfectly fine. I would usually just present the grid. But if you're going to be creating this, I would also start adding some clear space. So we may as well, we proofed it, right? Now if we want to add some clear space, for example, we can, let's say, draw our line here, draw our line here, just to show the actual outer rim, almost like the box that's surrounding the logo. And let's say that we want to find the distance from here to here. And we want to copy it over. Then we can have our logo actually just meet the outer rim. Let's condense this. And then we can write X. So this is X. So let's actually make that more clear. So if this is X, and again with a gray stroke, let's move it up. Let's move it up. Let's make this also gray. Ooh, that actually looks pretty good. We can say that this is X, and then Command C, Command F. Move this up, or let's actually move it down. And that this is also X, right? So we're almost developing clear space and showing the grids as well. Everything looks neat, professional, gridded, and shows that you took the time to make sure that your logo was properly aligned to a grid and everything is consistent with your work, which is a pretty good thing to show off. But I wouldn't make this your main logo. Again, your main logo is Ski World and this icon. Maybe I'll just put this in the process somewhere, right? So everything else should look fine, and I'll see you in the next lesson.